Let's talk about Martin Armstrong just for a minute. I want to focus on one little thing that he had to say here. And I'm going to play you a little excerpt of him talking about one little thing for about 30 seconds in this video. But I want to say one thing about what he had to say. You have to realize that when the contraction occurred back in 2008 of the financial system, this major contraction of everything in the entire world, it was a huge contraction. If they hadn't stopped it, it would have destroyed the world. When they hit it with quantitative easing, tremendous amount of money that they were producing every month, and they were pouring it into the system, this liquidity. It went into what's called a liquidity trap. And all this tremendous money that they produced, the $4.5 trillion that the Federal Reserve produced, all went into a liquidity trap. It never made its way into the money supply as to increase the velocity of money. It actually slowed the velocity of money down because it actually increased the amount of money in the system, but without moving. So it slowed the velocity of money down right down to nothing. Martin Armstrong makes a point here. And his point is such a powerful point. It's such a powerful point that I need to talk about it. I'm gonna play it for you. I'm gonna play the clip right 1, 2, 3 here.
I mean, all this nonsense about, hyperinflation, increase in the money supply. How many years have we listened to that? I mean, it's just a joke. It doesn't matter. You can increase the quantity of money, no problem. If people don't spend it, you're not going to get the inflation. That's what 10 years of quantitative easing in Europe has failed to produce inflation. Why? Because they're hoarding it. Then you took interest.
Okay. It's such a powerful point that he made. This money is not going to create a hyperinflation, even though they've produced all the money needed for a hyperinflation, because this money is being hoarded. The money is being shut away. I saw a video today about silver. One of the ones on the silver channels here is saying the myth, something. It was something about the myth of the silver inventories or whatever, something like that. Anyway, I didn't really go in and look at the video, but I get the gist of it. The gist of it is about the amount of silver is in the inventories out there, and there's a lot of silver in the inventories, and people think to themselves, oh, I was down at APMEX and I saw 50 monster boxes there, and this means there's never going to be a silver shortage. You know, they think that they see listed how much is in the world's silver inventory, and they say, oh, above ground, there's in silver stocks in the world, there's like 20 billion ounces or something like that, they say. And so there'll never be a silver shortage because they figure out how much we're using every year, how much we're consuming. And then they divide it amongst the world's silver inventory. And they say, okay, there'll never be a silver shortage because they did that division. You know what they're missing? One big thing they're missing. That silver's not for sale. It's huge. That's huge. That's absolutely huge. Because that silver would be for sale if the price hits a certain price point. Triple-digit silver, it's for sale. Right? But it's not for sale at these prices. So you've only got, the only silver that you can really count is the silver that's actually for sale. And that's such a limited supply, such a tight supply, that it could dry up in a moment's notice and create a silver shortage. What they're missing is they're thinking that the world's silver inventory, they divide it by how much silver is being consumed, and they're missing the whole point. Now, getting back to what Martin Armstrong said. He said that we can never have a hyperinflation, even though they create tremendous amounts of money. We'll never have a hyperinflation from that. But the thing is that's because this money is all the same as the silver inventories are sitting on the sidelines. The money is sitting on the sidelines. But the money's already there. But it's sitting on the sidelines right now. It is not making its way into the system. There's an analogy I'll use to help explain this and I've used this analogy before, but it's very pertinent to help you understand what's going on, is quite a few young people have died from alcohol poisoning. They'll get into their mother or father's liquor cabinet and they'll drink down a whole big bottle of vodka or whatever, and they sit there and they wait a minute and they see nothing's happened. I don't feel drunk or anything. That's because there's a layer of mucus that surrounds the stomach. And when they first drink that alcohol, it doesn't make its way through that layer of mucus. The layer of mucus actually slows its progression into the bloodstream for a period of time. And so then they might drink down more. Glug, 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 glug. Right? But by the time that makes its way into the bloodstream, it's too late. This is the way with this liquidity that's been pumped into the system, and it's in this liquidity trap right now. It's not making its way into the system. It's in this trap. But when it makes its way into the system, and then it's going to be multiplied, the multiplier is not the central banks, but the banking system through its magic of being able to create money through a process that's called fractional reserve lending. Means they only have to keep a fraction on hand. This is not going to go away. The banks are all out there and they're ready to loan. They just need qualified borrowers. And those qualifications for borrowing money, excuse me for a second, my eye's itching. That qualification for borrowing money can be reduced at a moment's notice so that anybody can qualify very easily once the banks get interest rates up a little bit higher. You see, the banks' interest rates have been so low that the banks have been a little bit do we really want to lend to this guy? We're only going to make like a fraction, just a small fraction of interest. We want to check and make sure this guy's going to pay us back before we lend him money, because we're not going to make very much money off of lending to him. But now when interest rates get up higher, and the economy starts cooking. What I mean by cooking is when they start to pour the liquidity into the system. You remember what I was talking about before, how at a certain point we're going to have a recovery, a real recovery, when the Fed loosens up monetary policy. Well, interest rates by then will be quite a bit higher than they are now. Right? They're going to try to lower interest rates, but they're still going to be higher than what they are now. And this economic recovery is going to mean that they're going to have to push money out there through fractional reserve lending. Plus, the velocity of money is actually going to start to pick up. And it's going to be these good times that's going to lead to the hyperinflation. It's going to be the rock and roll times are coming. The times when there's going to be stimulus, there's going to be money flowing into the system. What's going to create this is this crisis that's coming. This crisis is what's going to turn the central banks around on their ear, and they're going to become doves, as they have been bearish all this time, and they have been very hawkish. They're going to become doves, and the system is going to go from a bearish system into a bullish system, the whole system. And that's when the velocity of money is going to increase, and this is when we're heading into the hyperinflation. The whole thing right now is on the side of is starting to descend toward deflation. This whole thing that we've been told about there is inflation coming right now, the inflation that's coming right now is going to dry up so quick, and it's because of what the Fed's doing. The Fed is withdrawing liquidity from the system. There is one economist out there, and I mean, I really have a lot of respect for this guy. This guy is really, really good. I should talk about him in my show. He made a book he produced years ago, and I read it years ago. I bought his book. I don't buy a whole lot of books on the economy. I got a few, but this is one that I really wanted to read a lot, and I read it, and I read it about 4 times. I read it so many times, dog-eared it. And that is Michael Pento. This guy really knows his stuff. And I am pretty much, if you listen to what Michael Pento has to say, I'm pretty much in sync with his ideas about the economy and where the economy is going. But he come out this. I anticipate that there could actually be a stock market crash because of what the Fed's doing. I don't think they're going to reach as. I don't think they're going to get as far as he thinks they're going to get before it crashes. He thinks they're going to get to like October. I think he come out with a new program. Just let me look it up here. He come out with a new program on Greg Hunter today. Everybody should go and take a look at it. Greg Hunter. Let me see exactly what he said here so I quote him right. He says the financial crescendo in October of 2018. So he's predicting that in October there's going to be a financial crescendo. A crescendo, if you know what it is, it's like in an opera. It's when everything reaches its peak. And this is going to be a financial crescendo and the peak, and then it crashes. That's a crescendo. A crescendo rises to a peak, and then it goes below, and then everything goes quiet. It crashes. It's like the orchestra goes up and up and up and up and up and up and up, and a crescendo, and then crashes. And that's what he says, a financial crescendo in October of 2018. So he thinks we're going to get to October. I have an awful lot of respect for this guy. I read his book like 3 times. And so I am not going to negate what he says about October. They're going to be up to $50 billion from what I am understanding per month in October. I have a hard time thinking that they're going to make it that far, but maybe they will. I was expecting they're not going to get past $30 billion. So they'll have to get past $30 billion, they'll have to get past $40 billion, and they'll have to get all the way up to $50 billion to make it to October. But perhaps Michael Pento is being a little bit conservative. Perhaps he's actually putting a date on this, and perhaps he's thinking to himself that, like I do, that they probably won't get to October, but October at the best, if they're running on vapors. So he's maybe giving himself a little bit of leeway on this, in case it does last to October. But he's probably being really sure that he's given it. He knows that he's probably thinking to himself, hey, you know what? They probably won't last to October. That's probably what he's thinking to himself. So I'll say he's probably thinking to himself, I'll say October because I know that they'll never get that far. It'll probably happen at $40 billion. October, it makes it to $50 billion. They're going to have they will have torn all of the anchors out from underneath all of the legs out from underneath the table by October. And down she has to come unless they change policy. And the Fed's not planning on changing policy. So I'm in total agreement with Michael Pento. I don't think it's going to make it to October, though. Really, I kind of don't think it's going to make it that long. But maybe it will. At any rate, he might have hit it right on the head. It might not last to October, and if it does last to October, he'll have hit it right on the head. But I'll be right in agreement with him. You know? But I think it could happen any time between now and October. I can't see it making it past October, though. So it's definitely won't make it past the end of this year. Like I've given my prediction to the end of this year, to 2018. And if we go into 2019 and we haven't had the economy go crazy, and we're still going along like we are now, I will stand up in front of you guys and say, hey, you know what? I was wrong. Hey, you know what? I was wrong. This whole thing, they've been able to, the Fed was right. The Keynesianism works if they can get past the end of this year. Unless they change their policy without a crisis occurring. In which case, they will have, cheated. You know, they will have lied to us that they're not going to tighten, that they go back to loose monetary policy without a crash occurring. Why don't they do that? Why wait for a crash? Why not just tomorrow morning the Fed come out on the doorstep of their little lair, or what's a better name for it? I'm trying to think of a better name for it. A warren. Come out of their little warren, you know, and stand on the doorstep and get all the news media there, you know, and say, listen, guys, it's over. We're not even going to try to go where we were going. We're going to go in the opposite direction. We're going to open the floodgates of money and let it all pour out. Of course, the dollar would die. But they would say, to hell with the dollar, we're just going to open the floodgates of money and let it all pour out. And we wouldn't have this financial crisis that's coming up imminently. The stock market, that afternoon after they made the announcement, the stock market would go up 1,500 points the first day. Gold and silver would go up $100 the first day. $100 for gold, and silver would go up about $3 the first day. Bitcoin and Litecoin and all these cryptocurrencies would double in value in no time. Everything would be on its way up, and we'd have our economic recovery right away. No, that's not the way they're going to work it. I can almost tell you with a certainty, Michael Penno's going to be right. This thing is going to boil down to a collapse. He's probably being a little bit conservative, saying October. It probably could come earlier. Probably won't make it to October. But if it makes it to October, it's going to be burning on vapors, running on vapors. Anyway, Michael Penno's good. Best go over to Greg Hunter and take a listen to what he's got to say. I'm pretty much in agreement with everything he's got to say. And it could possibly last to October, which would make him right again on even that. Because he's practically a financial genius. You know? And this guy, you know, I mean, I'm a big fan of what he does, his work in the financial world. He's very good, you know. So listen, thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Bye.